Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you all? Hope you all are doing well. This is your teacher Rosina of subject Social Studies for class 6, and I welcome you to another lecture. Today we are going to continue the unit number 2, chapter 2 of your geography books. So take out your geography books, page number 22. So we have chapter number 2 of unit 2, and the chapter name is solar system. Now, what is a solar system? We have discussed in the previous lecture as well that solar system, the solar system that we have, like our sun and the eight planets and the moons of all the planets and all the clouds and stars and all the system that is in our galaxy, right? So we have discussed that in the galaxy we have too many solar systems. There is not only one solar system, and we have also discussed that universe is the greatest of all, and in the universe we have different galaxies, and apart from galaxies we have different clouds as well, and in all those galaxies we have different solar systems. And then in the solar systems we have the sun, the moons, the planets, and all the other things or the elements, right? So today we will be discussing about the solar system. Solar system, as we have discussed before, it consists of the sun, moon, and 8 planets, and it is a gravitationally bound system, right? It is a gravitationally bound system which keeps the sun, moons, planets, and other objects on their paths within the solar system. Now, what does it mean that all the planets and the sun, they all have the gravitational force? Gravitational force means that they attract each other towards themselves, right? If you imagine, if there is no gravitational force, right, so what will happen, that all the planets, they will disperse, they will move away from the solar system. So there is a gravitational force, and that gravitational force bounds the sun, the moons, and the planets to move in their given directions, राइट अगर हमारे सोलर सिस्टम में ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स नहीं होगी, अगर वो एक दूसरे को अपनी तरफ अट्रैक्ट नहीं करेंगे, तो पूरे के पूरे सोलर सिस्टम में एक डिस्ट्रक्शन क्रिएट हो जाएगी. अर्थ और जितने भी बाकी प्लैनेट्स हैं वो सब अपने अपने पाथ्स पे, अपनी अपनी जगहों पे जाना शुरू हो जाएंगे. दे विल मूव ऑन देयर ओन and they will not be moving in a particular direction, right? So and all the planets have almost circular orbits. We know that all the planets, they move around the sun in their circular orbit. They have a circular motion and they move around the sun. Other than these heavenly bodies are all the elements or the creature, all the things, for example the earth, the moon, and all the things that they are known as the heavenly bodies. We have dwarf planets and smaller bodies, right? So other than these heavenly bodies, other than the sun, moons, and the 8 planets, we have other dwarf planets and other smaller bodies like smaller stars and other things as well in our solar system. Our solar system came into existence some 4.6 billion years ago from the gravitational collapse of a giant interstellar molecular cloud, and it is about 27,000 light years from the center of our galaxy. We have discussed about what the light year is. I will tell you once again. Light year means that the distance the light travels in 1 year, right? We know that the light, it travels, the speed of the light is the fastest, right? The speed of the light is fastest. It travels in a very fast motion, right? So the distance, right, so the distance the light covers in 1 year, that is known as a light year. So it is 27,000 light years from the center of our galaxy. So it is the distance of our solar system from the center of our galaxy is 27,000 light years, right? And how did it came into existence? It came into existence when 4.6 billion years ago, when there was a collapse of a giant interstellar molecular cloud. Means that there are the clouds, right, between the stars, between the galaxies, between the solar systems. So there was a collapse, a giant collapse, a big huge collapse of this one of this cloud, and our solar system came into existence. Now, what are the planets? We have 8 planets in our solar system, and they include the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The first 4 planets, that are the Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, they are called terrestrial planets, and other 4 planets, they are known as the giant planets, and they are much more massive. Massive means huge than the other 4 planets. So the first 4 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, they are called terrestrial planets, while the other planets are called the giant planets. And they call the giant planets because they are much more in the size, and they are massive, they are huge, as compared to these 4 planets. Now, why does they call the terrestrial planets? They call the terrestrial planets, the smaller planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, because they are composed of rock and metal. On these planets, we have rocks and we have metals, right? And the 2 largest planets, that are Jupiter and Saturn, they are the gas planets. They are made up of gas, they are composed of gas, and mainly hydrogen and helium, right? So Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, they are composed of rock and metal. We can find rock and metal on that planets. And the 2 large planets like Jupiter and Saturn, they are composed of hydrogen and helium gases. And the outermost planets, they are the Uranus and Neptune. The last 2 planets, they are known as the ice giants because they are composed of the ice, right? They contain the ices comprising of water, ammonia, and methane. These are the chemical elements. So we find the rock and metal on the first 4 terrestrial planets. Then we have the gas planets, 2 gas planets, and the outermost last 2 planets, they are composed of they are known as the ice giants because they are composed of the ice, and they are made up of the water, ammonia, and methane. The 4 outer planets together make up 99 of the total mass known to the orbit Sun, and together Jupiter and Saturn are 400 times the mass of the Earth. Now, the 99% of the solar system, the 99% of the solar system, we say is it is by the outer 4 planets, right? The 99% of the mass of the solar system is made by the outermost 4 outer planets, and Jupiter and Saturn, they are 400 times bigger than the Earth. Now you can see here we have a solar system. This is the Sun, and these are all the planets, and they are moving on their axis or on their orbits, and they move in a circular motion around the Sun. Then we have the Sun. The Sun is one of the stars, right? So the Sun is a star and is the energy source of our solar system and our planet, the Earth, right? So it is the star. It comes under the category of the stars, and it is a source of the energy to all the solar system, to all the planets, and especially to Earth, right? And it is the largest of all the other elements in the solar system. It is largest of all the moons. It is largest of all the planets. The Sun is about 150 lakh kilometers away from the Earth, and the distance of the Sun from the Earth. And during the summers, it is easy to imagine what would happen if this distance were to become shorter. And in summers, we experience that if this distance became shorter, what would happen, right? So we will be boiling, I guess. So the Sun, it has very hot temperature. It has very hot temperature, and it is and during the summers we can experience that if this distance is shortened, if this distance becomes shorter, what would happen to the people living on the earth? The radius of the sun is 700,000 kilometers. So the radius of the sun, see the radius, right? So the radius of the sun is 700,000 kilometers, and in order to get an idea of its size, we could compare its mass to that of earth. Okay, and in order to get the idea of its size, that how much bigger it is, we compare it to the mass of the earth, we compare it with the earth. So the sun has 332,900 earth masses, and has extremely high temperature to cause and sustain nuclear fusion of hydrogen into helium. Now what happens is that we know that the earth mass is 332,900 more than the earth, right? So you can see in this picture that this somewhere here we have the earth. There are the four little tiny planets, if you can see in your books, and these are the four the outer planets. They are bigger in size than the earth. So you can see that it is about 332,900 times bigger than the size of the earth, and it releases electromagnetic radiation, right? So there is a nuclear fusion of hydrogen into helium. It is made up of, you can see it is made up of the chemicals that causes the fire, right? So there is the explosion, and there is the fusion of the different gases, and due to these gases it releases the electromagnetic radiation. It releases a certain type of rays, and these rays are mostly in the form of the light, and we can see that light, we can see the sunlight, right? So these gases, they release they release some kind of energy that is known as electromagnetic radiation, and these are in the form of the visible light. Okay, giving the sun its blasting heat and light so important for us here on the earth, and it gives the sun a blasting heat, which is also important for the people living on the earth. Okay, its temperature is between that of the hottest and the coolest stars, right? So there are some of the stars which are more hotter than the sun, and there are much stars that are much cooler than the sun, but it is very rare to find. We hardly find any star which is hotter than sun, but there are stars which are hotter than sun, right? So but it is very difficult to find, it is very rare to find the stars that are hotter than sun, but there are plenty of stars which are known as the red dwarfs, right? The stars dimmer and cooler than the sun, known as red dwarfs, are plenty in number. So the stars which are cooler or the dimmer than the sun, which do not have that much light as the sun has, and that do not have the much heat or the temperature as the sun has, so they are known as the red dwarfs, and they are plenty in number. Okay, on page number 24. So this is one of the first planet we have in our solar system, and that is nearest to the sun, right? And Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, and it is the smallest planet, and it is about 0.055 earth masses, like it is 0.055 of the earth mass, right? If you calculate the mass of the earth, and from that mass only the 0.055% of the mass of the earth is the whole of the Mercury. So Mercury is the smallest planet in our solar system. Mercury has no natural satellites or moons in simpler terms, so it does not has any satellites, or it does not has natural satellites. Natural satellites means the moon and the stars and all the celestial bodies in the universe. So it does not has any natural satellites, and it does not has moon, and there are the geological features. Geological features means that we have discussed in the first unit. Geological features means the mountains and the plateaus and the all the other geological landforms, right? So it has the geological features, and it has the impact craters and ridges. Impact craters means that they are the holes in the ground of the in the surface of the Mercury. If you have ever seen on the moon as well, we see there are small holes in the surface of the moon. So same the Mercury has small little holes on its surface, and they are known as the impact craters, and ridges are small heaps, right? Small heaps, and they are made by the contraction soon after it was formed and was initially extremely hot. And these impact craters and the ridges are the heaps. It means in Urdu, it means छोटी छोटी जो ढेरियाँ होती हैं, ढेर सी जो होती है, small little tiny mountain type ridges. So they were formed when it came into existence, right? So as the Mercury came into existence, the impact craters and ridges were formed on its surface, and it is extremely hot as compared to the Earth. The temperature of the Mercury is much more hotter than the Earth, and it is very difficult to imagine a life on the Mercury, so no one can live on the Mercury. Then we have the Venus. Venus is closest to the Earth, and its size is 0.815 Earth masses, and it has a structure somewhat similar to that of the Earth. It is a little bit like the Earth, and it has a thick silicate mantle. Mantle means a cover around an iron core. So it, as the Earth has a core, right? So the Venus also has the core, and it has an iron core, and it is surrounded by a mantle. Mantle means a sheet or a layer of the silicate. Silicate is a chemical. It also has an atmosphere which is 90 times denser than that of our Earth, and there is evidence of geological activity on it. So the climate of the atmosphere on the Venus, it is very dense, it is very thick. It is not possible to have a life on the Venus as well, and it also has the geological activity on it. It also has the geological features on it, and it does not has moons, and it is the hottest planet. It is one of the hottest planet, and the surface temperature is about 400 degrees Celsius, and probably due to the greenhouse gases trapped in its atmosphere. Greenhouse gases means that the atmosphere of the Venus, it absorbs the different type of dangerous gases. So due to the greenhouse gases, the temperature of the Venus is about 400 degrees Celsius, and it is the one of the hottest planet in our solar system. Then we have Earth. We know how Earth is because we all live on the Earth, and Earth is third planet, and it is the third planet from the Sun. It is third in number from the Sun, and it is the largest of the other first four smaller planets. We have discussed that the solar system has first four smaller planets, and among those four smaller planets, Earth is the largest of the first four planets, and it is the only planet that supports the life. It is the only planet which has a life on it, and it has one natural satellite, that is Moon. We have only one moon, and it was formed, it came into existence about 4.54 billion years ago. So Earth is about 4.5 billion years old, and during the orbit around the Sun, as we know that Earth, it rotates around the Sun, it revolves around its own axis, and it rotates around the Sun. So Earth rotates about its own axis 366.26 times. It means that it creates 365.24 days. So we know that the Earth, one important thing to keep in mind is that Earth, it rotates around the Sun, as well as it rotates around its own axis, right? So when the Earth, it rotates around the Sun, when it completes one whole, for example, just suppose that there is a sun, right? So when the earth, it rotates, it completes its one revolution around the sun, right? So it completes its 1 year. But when the earth, it rotates, it revolves around its own axis, it completes 1 day, right? So we say that earth rotates like this around the sun, it rotates like this around the sun. For example, let's suppose this is a sun, right? So okay, we will explain it on the previous page. We have it, right? So now see here, this is the axis of the earth, right? So when it completes its one revolution, its one rotation around the sun like this, it completes the 1 year. But it also rotates around its own axis, right? It also rotates around its own axis. It moves like this. So it moves like this around its own axis, and it completes 1 day when it rotates about one axis. When it rotates completely on its own axis, when it completes one rotation on its own axis, it completes 1 day. So it rotates on its own axis like this, completing 1 day, then second, then third, then fourth, and like this months and weeks, and then it completes the whole year when it completes one rotation around the sun. Okay. Earth's axis of rotation is tilted 23.4 degrees away from the perpendicular of its orbital plane. Okay, now what does it mean? Is that it means that the axis, like this is the axis, it is rotating like this, right? The earth is rotating like this, right? This is the rotation of the earth, but the axis it has is bit tilted. You can see this is the north pole of the earth, this is the south pole of the earth. So it is not like this, it is not vertical, it is not in a straight line, but it is bit tilted, right? So how much is it tilted? It is tilted about 23.4 degrees. Okay, the moon, due to its gravitational relationship with Earth, causes ocean tides, stabilizes the orientation of Earth's rotational axis, and gradually slows Earth's rotational rate. Now, the Earth, we have discussed that in the solar system we have the gravitational forces of all the planets and of all the celestial bodies. So Earth and the moon, it also has the gravitational relationship, right? So due to that gravitational relationship, the moon, it rotates, it revolves around the earth, right? So it completes its 1 month around the earth when it is rotating around the earth. So it has a gravitational relationship with earth, and due to that gravitational relationship, there are the ocean tides, right? If you have ever heard, when there is the full moon, right, the gravitational force is much more at that time. So when there is the full moon, there are the ocean tides. Ocean tide means जो समंदर की, जो ओशन की लहरें होती हैं वो बहुत ऊंची हो जाती हैं, right? And it also stabilizes the orientation of Earth's rotational axis, and it also stabilizes, right, it also balances the rotation of the earth on its own axis, and it also slows Earth's rotational rate, right? So if there is no gravitational force between the earth and the moon, the earth will rotate very rapidly with a very high speed. So due to the gravitational force between the earth and the moon, the earth rotates very slowly, and it balances the rotation of the earth. So this was all for today. In the next lecture we will be discussing the other planets of our solar system. So this was all for today. I hope this is clear to you. Your task is that you have to go through all the topics we have discussed and try to make about 5 or 6 blanks and 5 or 6 choose the correct options from chapter number 2 that we have read so far. So this was all for today. I hope it is clear to you. Take great care of yourselves and try to be safe at home. we will be discussing the rest of the lecture in the next video. So Allah Hafiz.